This is the Blood Red podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.
A very good afternoon and welcome to the Blood Red podcast, coming to you from the Liverpool Echo offices in the heart of the city centre. It's Christmas week and Arne Slot has already been bearing gifts in the form of 3 points at Tottenham Hotspur on Saturday. It was a bit dramatic though, and we're going to sort of take a look at that now with two of Britain's finest journalists I'm joined with today. I'll start with Paul Gorst.
Yeah.
It's well, I'm in a good mood, mate. You know, quite festive, and you know, happy to dish out the superlatives early doors. You can be the judge at the end, viewers. But Paul Gorst, welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Good. Yes. We are on the home stretch for Christmas now, aren't we? This is my last day in the office until Boxing Day, so I'll be skipping out of here in double quick time at 5 p.m. But good.
I'll keep an eye on that.
Looking forward to a festive Baileys, I think.
But also, I was going to say, getting down to the important stuff is, you know, you like a festive tipple. Yeah. Baileys, is that a seasonal drink, or do you like that twice a week?
It tends to be a seasonal thing, doesn't it? A little Christmas Baileys. Don't know why, really. Don't know why that's a thing, but it's just the way it is. But I do enjoy little Baileys, yeah. So get stuck into one of them later while wrapping me presents, and we move. We go again.
and you've got all your gifts. Is the important thing. Are you sorted?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think we're all right. Yeah, for a change, no dashing around on Christmas Eve like last year, which I think a lot of it owes to the fixture list. Actually, they've been all right, haven't they, with the fixtures this year?
Not been too bad. I mean, if you get knocked out of the League Cup early doors, you afford yourself an extra late night Christmas shopping day there.
That's
really,
it, yeah. Maybe there's a lesson in there.
There may well be. Now, a man who would know anything about organisation, surely Mark Jones.
Hello.
Christmas all boxed?
Yeah, pretty good actually.
I knew it.
Yeah. I know, I'm feeling quite smug. Yeah, it was done.
Yeah.
It was done like last week. Yeah, I'm all right.
Was it? Yeah.
Just look at his face. Unbelievable.
No,
well,
you've got to be organised, haven't you?
Yeah. I've got a few bits to do. Thanks for asking.
I was just about to.
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm fairly well organised. Young Matthew is in for a treat, but I can't reveal all because he might watch this.
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll see what happens next week. Anyway, let's get down to the reason people will have tuned into this, which is not what everyone's getting for Christmas, but Liverpool Football Club. Now, it wasn't that long ago I sat in this very chair and asked yourselves whether Arne Slot should be getting sacked. Well, football moves pretty quick, doesn't it? Because he's now, I think it's 6 games unbeaten. 5 in the Premier League and 3 wins on the bounce now. Is that correct? So yeah. So in terms of results, things are definitely looking up. An interesting game against Spurs on Saturday. I say interesting. I think we can scrap off the first half because that was probably one of the most boring things I've ever seen in my life, if I'm honest with you. But stability seems to be the watchword at the moment. I asked Arne Slot, not personally, but through this medium, to try and get back to basics a bit and just get a grip of things in defence and probably become a little bit more boring. Maybe I should have been careful what I wish for, because that certainly does appear to be the case, but it has come with results.
Yeah, it has. It's come with results. Liverpool look a lot more solid defensively. Apart from a bit of a crazy sort of final 10-15 minutes, which we're going to get into. But generally, you look at the game against Inter, the game against Brighton, and then, you know, the first sort of 80 minutes against Tottenham. Very safe and secure, weren't they? They're not giving up too many chances. And I think that's been a big key feature of how Liverpool have turned it round, really, because they were just giving away goals too easily. You know, teams didn't have to work hard to score against them. Normally, the first few shots on target were going in. You look back at that run from late September to the end of November, and I think they conceded inside 15 minutes 4 or 5 times, which was a real sort of sticking point as to where it was all going wrong, because once they got that setback, they didn't have the mentality in them to bounce back. So they've become a little bit harder to break down, a bit more boring, as you say. It does sort of mean that you have to take the rough with the smooth, and Liverpool not exactly pairing at the moment, are they? Certainly in the first half, when they just try to grow into games. And I think that the longer it goes on will become a bit of an issue, because I think Liverpool need to start with a bit more intensity and a bit more of the bit between the teeth. But it's the way that they're going at the moment, and 6 unbeaten now. You have to say that they have got a real foothold on the season, which looked a million miles away, didn't it, when they got battered by PSV and then Nottingham Forest, I think it was in the same week. So, improved, and now up to 5th with 2 very winnable games on paper to sort of close out the year and New Year's Day with Leeds. So, rock bottom Wolves to come, and then Leeds. You have to get 6 points from this, and then see where they are at the start of the year when things might be looking a lot more healthy. So, yeah, I mean, they're not flying. They are not back to where they were when they were at the best, sort of 12 months ago. But this is what back to basics looks like, isn't it? And they are slowly moving away from that very difficult period when, there were so many questions being asked of so many things.
I think since that pretty heavy defeat against PSV Eindhoven, it's almost like there's been a bit of a reset mark, don't you think? And with the exception perhaps of the Leeds game where they've kind of folded a little bit, apart from that, they're much tighter at the back and aren't conceding goals in the same manner as they were previously. They still look a little bit nervous.
Yeah, you basically you're 20 minutes. You're a mad 20 minutes of Leeds away from saying it's been fairly perfect, really. All right, the Sunderland result was disappointing, but again, I think there's a little bit of caveats with that, and they didn't really look in too much danger, and all of a sudden a shot flies in that's deflected, and they're up against it again, and they still could have won it. So, it's not been pretty, but it's been what's needed, hasn't it? It's been what everyone has been calling for. Saturday was a strange game, I think, from everyone's point of view. But when can you ever argue with a 2-1 win at Tottenham? It's a great result in any Liverpool season. It's the really good Liverpool sides of the past few years. You don't get a win at Spurs. It can only be a good result. So 6 unbeaten, and it is just feels like things have just shifted back in the direction that it's supposed to be on. And I think the thing in this league as well is if you can do that, if you can string wins together, you do climb it because it's so condensed. The league is so close. There's so few points between so many teams, and so if you can get a couple of wins or 3 in a row or even the odd draw here and there, as long as you keep the momentum going, I don't think it takes a lot for this Liverpool squad to be in that top 4, top 5. And if that's going to be the target for the season, which it has to be now, then they look in decent shape to do it, really. They look as good as anyone in terms of being able to have the kind of ability to win games. There's experience there. There's obviously the players, and if they can just cut out those errors that we were seeing, then they can carry on and in a form that's okay, better than okay, and all right. It isn't title winning wonderful football, but it'll do for now.
Yeah, I've got to be honest, I wasn't exactly cock-a-hoop at full time, if I'm honest with you, and I did fear, especially deep into injury time there, that Liverpool might even blow it. Because, as you say, that sort of nervousness seemed to creep in. The game's gone a bit wild. We'll come into the sort of the sending-offs and whatnot in a minute, but there was a lot of things that I perhaps didn't like about the performance. But is it just a case of being grateful for small mercies at the moment? You, as Mark said, you've won away from home against Tottenham Hotspur. It's a difficult place to go and get a result, and yet Liverpool have achieved that, and nothing's going to be remembered about that performance. Just the fact that we've taken 3 points.
Yeah, I mean, for 83 minutes, it's a really good performance, isn't it? Tottenham didn't really have a chance. Okay, Xavi Simons is sent off after around about half an hour. That massively helps Liverpool, but they managed it well, didn't they? They got themselves in front, a couple of quick-fire goals in the second half, and then weren't really conceding too much. Obviously, Colin Muani has the chance that loops up off Kirkes and hits the bar, but other than that, there wasn't too much else for Liverpool to defend, was there? Up until it all went a bit wild inside the last 7 minutes of normal time and then an extra 9 or 10, was it? So, if you're analysing it, there's a lot to say was good. They're still looking a little bit short of ideas up front for me, which has been a little bit of a knock-on effect of going back to basics. Mm-hmm. They still look like, they're content to flood the middle of the pitch with the likes of Szoboszlai and Wirtz alongside the other 3 midfielders. So it's players who Slot is confident can take the ball in any position on the pitch, who can handle it, look after it, keep the ball, and they're going to do the fair share of defensive work as well. Now, what that does is have, like I say, a knock-on effect with the lack of genuine forward options on the pitch. You know, there wasn't too many players running past Ekitike in the first half. In particular, you know, a lot of the onus is on the fullbacks to provide the width, and Conor Bradley and Milos Kerkez weren't getting too far forward. But like Mark says, you know, generally you go to Tottenham and you win, you come away and you think, well, that's a big result on the road. So you can pick holes in some of the performance and suggest that it doesn't necessarily mean Liverpool are flying again, but you know, it's a team who have had to sort of work out how to win again after such a dreadful period where they lost 9 and 12. So it's you can only look at it in a positive for me, and things to work on, of course, but with like I say, the fixtures that are coming up, particularly the Wolves game, Villa play Chelsea that same day, don't they? So that is a big opportunity now for Liverpool to move into the top 4 and then, you know, continue on from there, where that has to be the aim now, doesn't it? Top 4, we think the title is almost certainly gone. It's going to be between City and Arsenal. And then, you know, Liverpool have to try and stay on the coattails and make sure that they're in this top 4 at the end of the season.
You rolling Aston Villa out there?
Well, how many points are they behind now? I mean, I know they're having a fantastic season, but
I think it's only 3. Let me just double check that.
I mean, you've got Morgan Rogers, who's been fantastic, hasn't he? But
3 points behind.
Yeah, it'll still be Arsenal and City, but you know what a season they are having, and I don't think Liverpool expected to have Villa sort of blocking the road path that they earlier on in the season when they're trying to
makes that
get back up there.
That 2-0 win at Anfield in early November, right in the middle of all of how bad it was. It just makes it feel even weirder, doesn't it?
Football's a weird game, isn't it? You know what I mean? I mean, you know, ordinarily you might expect to get a result like 2-0 against Aston Villa, but in the context of everything else, basically Villa being brilliant for a large period of the season so far,
every game
being the opposite. I mean, Villa had a bad start as well, didn't they?
Yeah, well, Liverpool beat Villa and then beat Real Madrid in the middle of this terrible run that they were on from sort of late September to the end of November. So, 2 very strange results, really, when you consider, you know, what else was in there. But since that West Ham game, they've just started to move away from it all, haven't they? And I think supporters are still a little bit scarred from that dreadful run, which is understandable, but Liverpool are starting to piece it together a little bit now, and like I say, they just build on that with Wolves and then Leeds, and then, you know, you've got a huge week, haven't you, with Fulham and Arsenal to come on the other side of that. But for now, I think they just have to target 6 points from the sort of festive fixtures, if you like, and then let's see where they are.
On occasions this season, Liverpool have pressed the self-destruct button. That was Tottenham's job, it would appear. On Saturday, they took on that mantle. Let's look at Xavi Simons first. What was he doing there?
Absolutely no idea. It was very similar to the Anthony Gordon one, wasn't it? But it was like in slow motion. It was like he was watching that and he thought, I'll do that. But I mean, it's careless. I think it's just that I wasn't there, Paul was, but there seems to be there was oddness to Spurs anyway. They seem to be quite kind of het up about the game, and it was kind of, I don't know whether lots of issues around the manager, isn't there? And it all seemed to be a little bit on top for him, and I don't know if that was something. And he was playing in a, he was kind of isolated, wasn't he, Simmons? He's not really sure that he's not really that type of player, is he? Playing up there, he just was a bit frustrated maybe, and perhaps a bit bored by the way the game had gone for that first half hour. So he thought, I'll go and rake the studs down the international captain and Ferrer, who's about a foot bigger than me, and see how that goes.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
No, it was an odd one, and I've seen some of the reaction to it, and there are a lot of people bending over backwards to try and defend him and try and say it's not that bad, and I don't think it's malicious. It's just he's careless and it's stupid, isn't it? And ultimately, in this day and age, when there are all the cameras and there are everything, that you can complain about the way people slow it down and look at things, but ultimately that's going to happen. So I don't think you can have any complaints really, and it was just daft, wasn't it? And it obviously gave Liverpool the advantage at a time when the game was kind of going nowhere and drifting nowhere, and so it was obviously, and then Liverpool eventually at the start of the second half were able to press that home, but. Yeah, it was. Spurs seemed odd for the entire game. Really, they did some odd things.
They did. There was a bit of a dogs of war mentality as the game wore on, I think. But let's just look into the advantage that gave Liverpool, because Alexander Isak didn't start the game, and
didn't finish it.
He didn't finish it, correct. But no Mo Salah, because he's in AFCON, so it's an opportunity for these signings to sort of get a grip of the situation themselves, and to a point they did do that. As conservative as performance may have been, the first goal is Florian Wirtz putting a nice little ball in for Alexander Isak, who finished how we know he can finish, but then gets crocked immediately after hitting the ball. Now, when I first saw that challenge, I thought, okay, he's tried to block the ball and he's missed and he's taken the man out. And of course, the problem is Isak's foot is at its weakest point once he's followed through the ball. Watched it back again since, and it doesn't look great, if I'm honest, from Mickey van der Ven's point of view. What was your own take on it?
Yeah, it's so gutting, isn't it, for Isak? He comes on, scores within 10 minutes, and then it's a real opportunity for him to something to grab hold of. He's needed it, hasn't he? A bit of a sort of lifeline almost in his season, and then he doesn't even get a chance to celebrate it because he's down injured, and it does look as though he has broken his leg now, and it's not a Djibril Cissé style, horror leg break, but he needed to have the aid of the physios to come off, didn't he? Jonathan Power and Chris Morgan, and it's expected to be a significant layoff. We're going to hear a bit more from Arne Slot on Tuesday when he speaks to preview the game against Wolves. Not too sure he's going to be detailing the exact timescale of the absence, but we do think it is going to be a significant one now for Isak, and it means Liverpool's options are stretched. You just mentioned Mo Salah there. Cody Gakpo's obviously injured at the moment, so it's, Ekitike and Cottonwool, Federico Chiesa might get a chance, and even Rio and Gamoa. So Liverpool are going to have to manage this period quite. They're going to have to be quite balanced in how they do it, aren't they? They're not going to be able to place too much of a burden on Ekitike, because if he goes and pulls up, then Liverpool really are struggling. So yeah, gutted for Isak. I guess the only question now is just how long is he going to be on the shelf for? Because it wasn't a good one at all, was it, from Van der Ven, who escapes punishment because the striker had already got a shot off, which is a bit of a strange law, but yeah, that's how it's gone.
Can't really catch a break, Isak, can he? You know what I mean? Don't get me wrong, I have criticised the fact that he didn't have a pre-season of his own making, but he's trying to do the right things, and now he's out of action for however. Who knows how long he's going to be out for? We haven't got a clue.
Sorry, Mark, just to sort of interject. I think we're going to have to wait till next season now to see the best of Isak. I thought that anyway, to be honest, because of the lack of pre-season. If you speak to any coach at any level, really, they'll always tell you how important a pre-season schedule is. Isak didn't have one at all, did he? He comes in beginning of September. He doesn't really play for another 2 weeks because of the international break. He hasn't looked anywhere near the £125 million player, has he? So, this knock-on effect, however long he's out for now, I think we might just have to face up to the facts that it's going to be next season now before we see him anywhere near his best.
Yeah, I think you're right. One thing I was going to say, there's a player at Aston Villa who belongs to Liverpool who's not kicking a ball, and can't play for anyone else this season. So it is, with that injury, is it now an actual realistic proposition that maybe Harvey Elliott could be brought back in, even if that was never the intention in the first place?
It's logical, isn't it? I think it's the first. It'd probably be the first step that you'd think that they would look to do, not regarding any other transfers that I'm sure they're working on and looking at as well. The Elliott situation just seems to have got completely away from him, doesn't it? And whether or not Villa, it was a deadline day signing that perhaps it was a bit of a panic buy, that they just thought, let's get him in, and they might have agreed to a deal that they didn't necessarily want down the line. But when you thought, I remember seeing it thinking 35 million after 10 games, well, he's obviously going to play them, and then that'll be that, and you almost think, okay, he's gone then. You're not expecting him to come back, but yeah, you'd think it would make sense to have him back. It's another body in the squad who, whilst not a sort of pure striker, is he a pure attacker, but he can play off the right, can't he, when Salah's away, and it'll open up other chances for other players. I mean, just back on Isak, I think if my first thought with him, I think it's just with him really. I think it's he's obviously, you can talk about his conduct in the summer and everything around the transfer, and there were things that were wrong with that, obviously, but it felt as though everyone was lining up to have a go at him, and he was getting in the neck from everyone, and he just started to look, like maybe like you're seeing the shoots of what we know he can do, what we've seen him be able to do, and then that happens, and it's just so ironic, is it, in the act of scoring a goal, and from a vert pass as well, which again we've been waiting for all that. So it wasn't nice, but I think yes, I think he wasn't quite up to speed just yet, but look at the finish he got at West Ham, and and that one against Spurs, like. It struck me as he was going to have his say in this season. Even if he wasn't up to speed properly, he was going to score big goals and he was going to have big moments, I think. So hopefully he can still have them later in the season if he gets back. But yeah, it does leave Liverpool very short now, doesn't it?
And it wasn't that long ago we were questioned, did Liverpool need two expensive centre forwards, Isak and Ekitike? Did they both need to have come? Was that could they play together? How would they fit them in? Well, that's all been taken away from him now, isn't it? This is Ekitike's moment, isn't it? Really, I think, to completely establish himself in that position until Isak is back in the picture.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, Slot spoke a few weeks ago about having to sacrifice other players' minutes in an effort to get Isak up to speed. And clearly he was referencing Ekitike because, if one plays, the other doesn't. But Ekitike had already made himself undroppable, hadn't he, with his form? 11 goals now, 5 in his last 3 games. It's more than double the next highest scorers, who were Cody Gakpo and Mo Salah on 5 apiece. So he'd already made himself undroppable, and now he has to play because of the injury to Isak. So they're going to have to be really careful about how they manage his game time now, because if he pulls up with an injury, then, like I say, Liverpool really are struggling. And he got a little bit of cramp, didn't he, at the end of the Brighton game, which some people were slightly concerned at the time that it might have been a hamstring. So, yeah, it's going to need some careful management there with the workload. But, I mean, there's no doubt about it. He was already one of the first names on the team sheet on current form, so he's going to have to lead the line now for the foreseeable. But the good news is, it looks like he can handle that responsibility. Yeah,
he certainly does, doesn't he? Another player who's come back in is Jeremy Frimpong, who had a significant part to play in the game with the assist for Ekitike's goal. Mark, what did you think of his performance first and foremost?
I think it was good. Yeah, it's good to have him back, isn't it? Another body in there that obviously was signed in the summer, and there were a lot of hopes for, and it just hasn't worked out for him, has it, with these couple of hamstring injuries. But he's a very useful player to have in a squad, I think, and especially now, given what we've seen with the injuries. He's another option. He could play high up on the right hand side, couldn't he? Or he could alternate with Bradley at right back, and we know Bradley has his injury issues and his suspension issues sometimes. So yeah, it's good to have him back, and he's a threat. He gets into good positions. Or a bit of luck with the cross, wasn't it? Got a deflection, but he puts himself into good positions, I think. And he was a good positive on the day, I thought. In terms of if you're looking for sort of extra additions in a performance that we can all pick holes in, and especially the end, which wasn't great. And he has to go off as well, doesn't he? Didn't have to, but the manager chose to. When I think he kind of lost his head a little bit, didn't he? After he got a whack in the face, but. He's a good player to have in the squad, and I think he's someone who will get his games now in the next month or so. You just hope he can stay fit. Yeah, I wasn't too sure what to make of his substitution, to be honest, with a cut lip. But I think it was more he was mad when he was. Slot said, didn't he? He didn't want to have him off the pitch for 30 seconds, so he just thought it'd be easier to get him off. Or just take him off completely. Yeah. He did take a whack in the face, didn't he? He did. His mouth was bleeding from it, so... Which he was very angry about. I wonder whether they were thinking he might get sent off himself. Yeah, perhaps, Liverpool were in the wars, weren't they, at the weekend? Isak broke his leg, couple of red cards, Kanata gets kicked, Benson Kerr on Kirkes was a naughty one. Simmons rakes his studs down his national captain's ankle. And then top it all off, Richarlison just sort of
climbs on top of Ekatike when he scores, or he was playing up with that one. So,
or Richarlison was definitely Richarlison, wasn't he? Saturday, that was the show.
Spurs were, like you say, Spurs were quite angry, weren't they?
Yeah,
quite wound up.
At least he didn't take his top off and then ultimately lose a football match. But he's done that before.
Or the pigeon celebration thing that he does. They were wound up, weren't they, Spurs? I don't know whether that's because of the run of form that they've been in, or maybe they thought Liverpool don't like the physical stuff and they've just taken that a bit too literally. But to be fair to Liverpool, you have to say they have been big question marks over their ability to handle a more direct physical approach from their opponents. But they went to what is historically at least a tough place to go and come away with the big 3 points.
Conor Bradley came off as well. We're still not clear exactly the extent of that injury.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably only Conor Bradley can get injured that way. A player trying to essentially win a penalty falls into him and Conor Bradley has to go off injured. We're going to hear from Arne Slot tomorrow. Hopefully it was just a precaution and it's nothing anything worse than that. But so Bosley's suspended, isn't he, for the Wolves game? So let's hope Bradley is okay and he can play, because the options are getting a little bit thin on the ground, aren't they? Frimpong is back, which is a big boost. But yeah, Liverpool need all hands on deck.
They do. McAllister, Curtis Jones. You mentioned right at the start about Liverpool being a bit more condensed in the middle and just having better control of the football. And is that testament to how the midfield's playing at the moment, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, he's picking 5 midfielders in there, isn't he? He's obviously got the 3, which Curtis Jones, and another star for him. McAllister, Gravenberch, and then Szoboszlai and Wirtz, who sort of took in narrow. So it's almost a bit of a 5-4-1, isn't it? Which allows Liverpool's better control in certain areas. It means that pretty much whoever they give the ball to is going to be a midfielder who's capable of looking after it. But I just think they're sacrificing a little bit in an attacking sense as a result. But I thought Wirtz was good on Saturday, particularly second half. He kept Kerkez was getting on the overlap quite a bit, wasn't he? And he was making things happen, and obviously gets the assist when it opens up a little bit for the mistake from Romero, and he punished that ruthlessly. So I think it's been a good sort of month for Florian Wirtz. The Sunderland goal, which isn't his. I think, does he get an assist for it officially? Obviously gets his assist on Saturday. His performance against West Ham, he was the best player on the pitch. I thought he was good against Brighton as well. So, yeah, we're just starting to see a bit more of what he can do, and not before time. He looks like he's going to be a real player for Liverpool. Yeah,
he's definitely come to the fore. Do you think he's benefiting from that condensed midfield, or the busier midfield? Does that just give him a little bit more licence to be able to wander around and get on the ball and pick pockets of space?
Yeah, I'd say so. I think you can tell he likes playing with some of the players as well. Curtis Jones is one I think that he likes playing with. A lot of nice little interplay between the two of them, and you think now going forward, I mean, maybe that's the way that it's going to have to be now. They are going to with only perhaps the one number 9 available for the foreseeable. You might see a situation where TK plays, Wirtz plays off him, and then you've got these 4 behind. Obviously that'll depend on numbers that are available, because there's not a lot at the moment. There's not a lot else they can do really. So, but no, I think Wirtz has been really good. Those games, well, I mentioned Inter Milan away, I thought he was brilliant when he came on as well. So he's quietly coming into it, and I know it might not yet be reflected in the things everyone looks at, the goals, the assists, everything else. But I think he's been really important in this kind of new calmer way almost that they're playing. It's helped him, I think. And he's going to be someone now who's going to need to be important going forward.
You touched on Jones being in there as well. Now, he's not always been an automatic selection for Liverpool, but he, as you say, he seems to have been building relationships with players, particularly Wirtz. But is that now putting him in a position where he's more likely to start games than not start them? Yeah,
well, he started 4 in a row, hasn't he? I'd say that's certainly under Slot. At least that's the first time he's ever done that. I'm not sure he will have done that before under Jurgen Klopp. Probably not. So, yeah, he's in a real good run of form. He's obviously just passed his 200th appearance milestone as well. So, yeah, it's been a good few weeks for him as well. And again, he's another one, isn't he? You never really have to worry about him on the ball. Wherever Liverpool have possession, he's comfortable to take it. And bravery on the ball in that sense. We've seen him against Brighton, didn't we, doing the number of cross turns in his own penalty area, trying to find a space to clear the ball without just hoofing it long. So, yeah, he's in a good run of form, to be fair. And at the moment, as long as he's fit, he's probably getting picked in that midfield, isn't he?
There is some good news for you, Ghosty. I think you got Boxing Day off this year.
No, I haven't. No.
Oh,
no.
I've set you up there.
You have, yeah. I mean, Virgil van Dijk was telling us on Saturday about how all the players have got Boxing Day off and got Christmas Day off, which is a bit of a rarity for them. But no, I will be working, just no game to cover. But looking ahead now, aren't we, to Wolves on the 27th?
We will, yeah. I'm also working Boxing Day.
Solidarity.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
One of the most hard-working podcast teams around this, viewers. So we could, bring the Baileys. We'll consider that. But so Liverpool have got their two immediate festive fixtures are Wolves at home and Leeds at home as well. So we're going to touch on those in our Boxing Day edition of the Blue Red Podcast, I believe. So there's no more to add to that at the moment, other than to say, Ghosty, Mark, thanks very much for your time. To all our viewers, thanks very much for watching today, and we hope you all have a very Merry Christmas. See you soon.
This is the Blood Red Podcast from the Liverpool Echo, giving you the inside track on all the big talking points from Anfield.